This is episode 153, 5 Ways Even the Best Intentions Go Bad. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. No good deed goes unpunished. That saying took me so long to fully understand. For so long, it just never made sense. No good deed shall go unpunished? Have you heard that before? Did it make sense to you the first time? Does it make sense to you now? No good deed? After all, aren't we supposed to want to do good deeds for others? Isn't that what we're taught growing up? Isn't that the lesson we pass to our kids and next generation? Be kind, help others, care, share. Good deeds, that should be part of what we do for each other as a community, as a society. But good deeds going unpunished never made sense. I like to consider myself someone that has a good nature. I do my best to help. I've always been the type of person that would raise my hand, want to do something for somebody else, want to contribute, be there to support. We all want to give more than we take. I consider myself a believer in people, probably too what many would define as naive. How many of you guys would put yourself in some of those buckets? Someone that generally likes to help, likes to support, believes in others, likes to do good deeds. But no good deed shall go unpunished. It's interesting because that saying makes sense to me more today. A little more experience, a little more wisdom, a little more perspective, for the reason that in anything we do, even with the best of intentions, there are what I'll call unintended consequences. Have you ever done something where you had the best of intentions, genuinely, there was no ill will, it was purely for what you thought was the betterment of all, the intentions were pure, but the outcome, the result was bad? Isn't that crazy that even with the bestest of intentions, it can end bad? And that's because of this awareness that there are unintended consequences of all actions, even good actions or the best actions. And I want to talk about that today, specifically 5 of the most common unintended consequences that I've seen in my life, in my career, working with leaders and entrepreneurs and organizations, communities. 5 patterns, so to speak, where the intention might be the best, might be for the right reasons, but the result is negative. And I want to bring an awareness to these 5 things, because I'm sure they're things that you have experienced or you will experience. Maybe as we go through them, it'll hit that filter, shift that script for you maybe to connect some dots of things looking backward and be more prepared as we progress forward. So kind of 5 ways even good intentions go bad. No good deed goes what? Unpunished. So, unintended consequences. What I mean by that is when we do something with the best of intentions, like our genuine reason for doing it in our own mind, from our own perspective, is to get a positive outcome, a positive result. But the end actual result, what happens, if we're honest for ourselves, ends up poorly, ends up negative, maybe ends up worse than had we not done anything to begin with. Therefore, I call it an unintended consequence, because it's not intended, but it is a consequence nonetheless. And there's 5 that I want to talk about today. The first unintended consequence has to do in the situation where we try to help somebody that we believe really needs help. Like we genuinely think we can contribute. Someone's in a position or a situation, you feel they need some support, some perspective, some guidance, a helping hand, and you give it. And you give it for no other reason than to help that person because you genuinely care. How many of you can think about a situation in your life where someone, maybe close to you, maybe a family member, close friend, colleague, was in a situation where they needed help and you felt compelled to do something about it? And in many cases, right, we're able to lend a helping hand and offer guidance and perspective that is a positive result. But in some cases, we get an unintended consequence that the more we help and the more that we take on and the more that we do for that person, the more we take away that person's ability to learn and grow for themselves. And the best analogy for all the fellow parents out there, and yeah, I'm a parent of littles right now. My son's 7, my daughter 4. But as parents, you learn that you can't do everything for your kids, because if you do everything for your kids, that they don't learn how to do it for themselves. And sometimes it's the hardest thing, is you don't want to see your kids struggle. You don't want to see your kids fail. You don't want to see your kids make mistakes. You don't want to see your kids fall down, because it hurts them when they do that. And it hurts you as a parent to watch, right, your children hurt emotionally when they make a mistake. Nobody likes that feeling, but that is the very thing that our kids have to go through in order to learn. You guys see, there is no life without mistakes. There is no progress without failure. There is no getting better without first messing up. That is the way in everything. And the more that we try to protect in our own mind our kids in this example, the more we deprive them from going through the things they need to go through to learn, to build the muscle. Not just the skill set, not just the know-how, but the mental muscle of trying, the mental muscle of resilience, the mental muscle of continuing, the mental muscle of getting back up, the mental muscle of knowing they can do it again, the mental muscle to know that a mistake isn't bad. And as parents, we learn that really, really quickly because we want our kids to grow. But that analogy transfers into every aspect of our life. That analogy transfers into us as leaders. If you're leading a community, if you're leading a company, if you're leading an organization, one of the things you have to learn as a leader is you can't do everything for the individuals in your organization. The more that you do for them, the more you deprive them of the opportunity for them to grow on their own. And sometimes when we're in that situation, we think we're helping and we're putting ourselves out there. And sometimes we're doing that for our own significance, our own validation, our own feeling of we are enough, that we can help, our own ego, if you call it, that we are a helper if we're honest with ourselves. Not realizing that in fulfilling our own need for that significance, our own need for an identity that we are a good person there to help, Filling our own need is depriving the person on the other end from becoming who they're meant to be. So that's a common unintended consequence in many situations where you help an individual, and the more you help them, the more you enable them not to learn and grow on their own. And it's a fine line. It's a balance as a parent, but also as a boss, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as someone that just wants to contribute to the betterment of the communities that you're a part of. So you have to ask yourself in those scenarios, what is not only your intention going into it, but truly being honest, what's the outcome between you and that individual? And is what you're doing really what's best for them, not just in the immediate term, but in the medium and the long term? Another scenario, sometimes we get involved in a certain situation or a certain circumstance, and the more that we do and the more that we contribute, the more we also deprive the opportunity for others that are a part of the community, of the organization, of the group, in order to carry their own weight, in order to contribute in their own way. Have you ever been in a situation where you're really, really good at something? Maybe you're in a situation where you really excel. Maybe you're in a situation where you can carry a lot of weight. You're in a situation maybe where you can put in a lot of time. Maybe you're in a situation where you can give it your all. And you do so with the intention of contributing to the organization or the community. And you think by you doing all you can, carrying all the weight, contributing as much as you can is helping the organization as a whole. Maybe blind to the unintended consequence that you're not allowing room for others that are a part of the group, of the community, of the organization to contribute in their own way. I see this happen a lot of times, especially when you have people that are extremely talented, extremely skilled, high achievers in a certain area, because maybe the end result, the finished product, would be quote unquote better if they just did it all on their own. But they're ignoring that the process a lot of the times is just as important as the finished product, the process of other people contributing, other people learning, other people being a part of the creation, having buy-in and ownership in the result. In order to create something great, I think it's always going to take the buy-in, the ownership, the responsibility on way more than just one. And it's the ability for many to all contribute and feel like they're contributing that creates greatness. So sometimes an unintended consequence for many individuals when working in a group and working with others is they don't allow the space or the opportunity for others to contribute in a meaningful way or in a way that allows them to feel like they're giving what they want to the whole. So you got to ask yourself in those situations, right? Can the group contribute? Is the community a part of? Can you allow space for others to lean in order to get the buy-in of a larger number of people moving or rowing in the same direction? Right? So sometimes there's unintended consequences to the person that you think you're trying to help. Sometimes there's unintended consequences to the group or the organization, right, outside the person that you think, right, you're helping or you're contributing to. Sometimes you being a part of the equation at all actually becomes a crutch for other people not to step up and contribute in a way that they can or should. So sometimes there's an unintended consequence where you being in the equation for the reasons that you think are the best, for the reasons to help, for the reasons to make an impact, for the reasons that are all positive and all good, sometimes you being there at all gives other people a reason or excuse not to be. Isn't that crazy that sometimes an unintended consequence of even your presence deprives other people of the opportunity to grab the ball, where if you weren't there, someone would have to step up or step in. Sometimes even your absence in a certain situation can get the best outcome or the best progress forward. How about in certain situations where your time and your energy going into a specific person or a specific direction that isn't being received the way that it can be or that it should be. Have we ever tried to help somebody because they need the help? Like they really need the help and you can help, but for whatever reason, the person doesn't want the help? There's a big difference between need and want, isn't there? And we learn over time that you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped, even if they need it in that situation. Because I've been a part of certain circumstances where this has been dire, tragic, dramatic, where people desperately needed help, but no matter what we did, if they didn't come to a place where they wanted it, there was no progress that could be made. And the energy and the time spent in that direction not only was ineffective, but there's an opportunity cost, meaning energy spent in a direction that's not moving is energy not spent elsewhere in another direction that can have a greater impact. See, so often we're tunnel vision, we're myopic, we're laser focused on the thing in hand and how do we move this needle, how do we move this boulder, how do we push this forward, not realizing that that same amount of energy, focus, attention, inertia put into another direction, a different person, would have a greater impact, maybe on that person, on a community, maybe on a broader movement. There's an opportunity cost to the time and energy. How's that for an unintended consequence? Your intentions to help a single person, a single community, a single direction, has an opportunity cost to who you're not helping with the same amount of focus. I'll give you another lesson and align with this conversation. It's more of a spiritual lesson, and the term is called bread of shame. And it's an old spiritual teaching that goes way back, and I won't go into the details of the story, but it came from a literal interpretation of bread, like bread that you eat, and being at a table where if all you do is take bread from others and take bread from others, right? Feast, get, take. On one end, it might sound amazing, right? To be in a situation where you can continue to receive. But it's called bread of shame because what happens over time is if you continue to receive more than you give, if you continue to take, right, more than you give, eventually, for everybody, it leads to a feeling of shame, a feeling of toxic guilt. And we all get in situations, whether we know this consciously or subconsciously, where if we're in a situation where we feel deep down intuitively that we are receiving more than we are contributing, we get a guilt or a shame. Most people do. So you have to understand, how does that lesson apply here? Well, yeah, it applies for us as individuals. We always want to, have equanimity. We always want to contribute. Yes, we want to receive, but yes, we want to give. Right? Yes, we want to get, but yes, we want to contribute. You want to make sure you maintain, and there's never a perfect balance, but it's got to be a flow. So we don't have that feeling, but you got to flip the perspective and understand that can happen as an unintended consequence with you as a giver. If you continue to give and give and give and give and don't allow the space for the other person in order to contribute back, over time, your giving, your helping is actually going to build a resentment or a shame or a guilt. What? Stop for a minute and take that in. Sometimes the more you give, best intention, without allowing the other person, even subconsciously, to have the ability to give back, to contribute back, over time, your giving is going to build a guilt or a shame in that person, and that will lead to a resentment, even an anger, even a hatred toward the very person that's there to help. What? No good deed shall go unpunished. How's that for an unintended consequence? And the last unintended consequence I'll highlight here is sometimes we give, help with the purest of intention, and we don't realize the impact it's having maybe on the most significant person of all, which is yourself. And I've seen so many people that are amazing, good-natured believers in people, there to help, caretakers of the world, give all they got to the point where they just had nothing left. And if you have nothing left because you've given it all to other people, you have nothing left for yourself. The old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, we only have so much energy, and energy is life, right? So where our energy goes, so our life goes. And if our energy goes and our life goes into constantly giving, helping, and we don't save enough to take care of ourselves, to fill our own cup, well, not only can you get into a position where you can no longer give and help others, you can get into a position where your life, your energy source is drained, is depleted, is run out. I've seen some people give so much of themselves that there's nothing left, and then they build anger and resentment toward everybody, not realizing that the root cause was the discipline to make sure that you save enough to take care of you. So those are a couple unintended consequences, patterns that we see over and over and over again. Starting with the best of intentions and the best of outcomes, but sometimes we give so much that we don't allow space for the person that we're giving to grow on their own. Sometimes we give so much that we don't allow the communities that we're a part of the space to contribute. Sometimes we give so much and we don't even realize the opportunity cost, that we're focused in one direction and we're not putting our energy and our experience and our perspective in another direction that might have a greater impact on a person or a community. Sometimes we don't realize the bread of shame. The more we give, not allowing space to contribute back is going to build a shame or a guilt and a resentment for you as the giver. And sometimes we give, not realizing that we're forgetting to give to the most important person of all, which is allowing you to have the time and space to constantly recharge so you can always be at your best and have a full cup to pour into others. Unintended consequences, they can all come with the bestest of intentions, where sometimes we're doing the right things for the right reasons, even maybe for the right people, but in a way that gets a result that is a negative outcome. Sometimes even the best of intentions can get bad results. So you might be saying, well, Blake, what's the point of this message? Does that mean I don't help others? No, do not misunderstand me, right? I'm not saying at all in any way that we shouldn't contribute, we shouldn't help. But I am saying maybe there's two questions we should ask ourselves in any situation. And it comes with a root of honesty. Honesty with ourselves. Question number one is, what is our intention in this situation? What root is our intention? Are we really there to help the person, or are we feeding our own significance? Are we feeding our own ego? Are we feeding our own identity to be a caretaker or a helper? Are we stuck in our own core belief? Are we feeding ourselves? What is our real intention here? And then the second question is, what is the real outcome? What is the real outcome that is happening? And is the outcome what's best for all, not just us in the situation, but the person that we're helping? Is the outcome what's best for them, not in the moment, right? But in the medium and the long term. Is the outcome what's best for the group or the community? What is the real outcome here? And I think if we're honest and transparent with ourselves on those two things, what is our real intention? Not what we're telling ourselves it is, the real root intention. And what is the real outcome, right, that our actions are getting? We can help us be the best contributors, right? The best givers, the best helpers, the best supportive, and do it in a way that maybe tries to reduce some of the unintended consequences. We'll never be perfect, right? But reduce some of the unintended consequences so the best of intentions can get the best of results. Hey, which one resonated with you most today? Maybe there's something going on in your life that this is a timely conversation. Let me know. Got some fun things in store. Always love it when you guys leave ratings and reviews on the podcast. I read every one of them. Appreciate all of you. I hope your year is off to an amazing start. And here's to 2023, continuing to move forward with the best of intentions, but doing with a level of awareness, a level of consciousness, a level of growth that also gets the best outcomes through our efforts and our actions for all that are involved. Hope today's conversation helped. In the meantime, good luck this week. Have an amazing, amazing week. And I hope you're able to contribute in a meaningful and impactful way that gets the most for you and those that you're helping. Take care, everybody.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.